Welcome to demonstration of PHP database connection along with inserting, viewing, deleting and updating data in database. So now let's first see the working part. Okay, so you have to click on the register link and this is the page for the registration, and you just have to fill the following information. Okay, the address, that is, I've taken text area for this. The gender, the hobbies, that is, you can select more than one. Since I've taken checkbox, okay, so on the ID which you want to set. After you have completed filling all the information of the registration, so just click on submit. Just provide a valid email address. Okay, so after you're done, just click on submit. So let's first check whether the data is inserted in the database. For that you have to double click on the table, and so here you can see the data is being successfully inserted in database. So now first let's go to the coding part. Okay, so after executing all the validation code, what the system will do is it will go to the last else part over here, and it will redirect the page to home.php, and it will pass all the field information in URL. You can see over here. Okay, so let's go to the home.php page. Here what I've done is I've taken the values which I've passed in URL in all these variables. So for that I have to write $_get, and I have to here pass the name that I've given in the URL. For suppose in this case I've given img, and for name. For mobile I've given CONT. So I just need to pass this over here. Okay, so what it will do, it will fetch the values of this name from the URL and it will store in this variables. Okay, so now the next step is to write the connection string. Here I've written con is the object of connection, and I've written equal to new MySQL I. Now MySQL I is nothing but MySQL improved, that is, it provides more security as compared to MySQL. For example, it supports prepare statement, which allows us to specify question mark placeholder in place of the actual parameters. So what the prepare statement does is it makes the connection only once, and as many times the user will hit the submit button, it will just pass the SQL query instead of making the connection once again. So hence it will make the connection only once, so it prevents from SQL injection. Okay, so I need to pass my 4 parameters to the MySQLi method. Okay, so if you're not, and the 4 parameters are, first one is host name, and the second one is username, third one is the password, and fourth one is the database name. So if you're not sure, if you don't know your system's host name, username and the password, so what you need to do is just go to the WAM folder. Inside that there is an apps folder, so inside that you have to go to the phpMyAdmin 4.1.14. so in that you will find a config.inc php file, so you just need to open that. Okay, so here you can see your host name, that is 127.0.0.1, which is an IP address which is also referred as localhost. Okay, so the second one, you can also view your username, that is root, and the password is not yet set, so it is blank. Okay, so once you're done with writing the connection string, the next one is you have to pass the SQL query, that is define the SQL query. So since I'm inserting the registration information, So I have to write your insert into rich one, that is the table name, and values I have to specify over here in single quotes, that is the variable name in which I have fetched the value from the URL. So after you're done defining the SQL query, just pass it in my SQL query, which takes two parameters, that is the connection object and the SQL query string. Okay, so if the insertion is made successfully, what it will do, it will redirect and it will show this message that is inserted successfully. And if the data is not inserted successfully, it will go to the else part and print insertion failed. Okay, so this is all about the insertion part. So once you're done with inserting your data, so now let's, since you have been assigned, you have got the ID and password, just click on login now, and here you can you just need to enter your ID and password. So as soon as you click on login, you will be able to view the data of all the registered users, that is name, image, contact number, email ID, address, city, qualification, ID, password, gender and hobbies. So let's see how this information is viewed, is displayed as a table. So for this, first you have to write the connection string and pass the 4 parameters, that is localhost, root, password and the first DB, that is your database name. Okay, and what this if will do is, it will check if the connection is successfully made, and if not, it will show this error message, that is could not connect, and the connection error message. This line will print the connection error message. Okay, if the connection is made successfully, it will not go to the if part inside if. And the next step is to define the query, that is select star from reg1. Okay, that means I want to display all the data of all the registered user. Okay, so the next step is to pass that query string inside the con query, that is it will fetch all the rows, whatever the result that will be returned by the query, and it will store the result in this result set, that is result. Okay, so this result is nothing but result set, that is all the rows which are returned. And to fetch one row at a time, I've written this code, that is while $row equal to result fetch associative. So this line of code will fetch one row at a time and it will display. Okay, so and this is the header, this code I have written for the header, that is you can see over here, this is the name, image and so on, if I want to display the headers. So for that I have to use the tag th. Okay, and for displaying all the data I've used label, and for the text I've passed the database, that is database $row, and I've passed over here the column name. So what this will do is, it will fetch the data from the database and display it in the label. And after that I have taken two links, okay, for one for the edit and the second one for delete. In edit and delete both of the link, it will pass the ID. Okay, so as to identify uniquely all the registered users. Okay, so as soon as you click on the first let's go to the edit option. As soon as you click on the edit option, what the system will do, here you can see the val equal to 101, that is the ID of this particular registered user is passed as URL. Okay, so you can view all the information over here. Okay, so if you want to like edit any option, you can edit over here. And suppose like this, and suppose I want to add one more qualification, everything. Okay, so once you're done with filling all the information that you want to update, just click on update. So your message is shown that this data updated successfully. So let's see whether the data is updated or not. Okay, so for that you have to double click on the table name, and here you can see the contact number, email ID, address and the qualification is being updated successfully in the database. Okay, so now let's go and check how the coding part of how the data is updated. Okay, so here in the first line you are doing nothing but taking the value from the URL, that is the ID that is being passed, so as to identify of the person's information whose data needs to be updated. Okay, so so I'm storing that in the ID variable. Okay, the next one is I'm passing the connection string. I'm writing the connection string, that is con object for making the connection, and new MySQL I, which is MySQL improved, and I'm passing the 4 parameters again, that is the host name, the username, password, and the database name. Next one is the SQL string, that is in this I need to define the query. So I've written over here select star from reg1 where ID equal to $ID. This is the variable in which I have taken all the values from the database. Okay, so whatever the result that this particular query will return, it will store it in the SQL variable. And the next step is I'm passing this in the query method. That is, what this will do is it will fetch all the rows, that is all the result, and it will store in the result set result. Okay, so if I want to fetch the rows one by one and display it, I have written this code, that is while $row equal to result fetch associative. That is, this is the method for fetching one by one row, okay, from the database. That is, whatever the result is being returned from this SQL query, select star from reg1 where ID equal to $ID, which is nothing but the variable name that takes the value from the URL. And the next step is that I want to display all the labels and the values that I want to update in the text field. So what I've done is I've returned the label control, and for text field I have passed the data from the database in the value attribute of the text field, so that I will be able to display the data from database in the text field so as to update it. Okay, so I've done the same for all the information. Okay, so the next one is update button. That is, as soon as the user will click the update button, what the system will do is it will go to the if is set $post s1, which is nothing but the name of the update button. Okay, so what this is so as soon as the user hits on the update button, it will the control of execution will go over here, and it will check if that particular button is clicked by the user. So what this will do is, first I have taken the values of all the list box, okay, in this values variable, and I've taken for one by one fetching the values of the list box, whatever the, since I've enabled multiple selection. Okay, so the same way I have done for everything. Whatever the user has updated the information in the control, all those values will be taken in the variable. Okay, and then the next step is to write the query string. Okay, so that is update reg1, which is my table name, set name equal to $name, which is variable which takes the value from the control, and for that, for fetching the values from the control, I have returned $_post t1. T1 is nothing but the name of that control of that text field. Okay, the same way I've done for all the controls, like set name equal to $name, cont equal to $cont, email equal to $email, so and so on, where my ID equal to $ID. So that so in order to specify which particular the registered user's data should be updated, I've written here where ID equal to $ID, which is nothing but the ID which is supplied through the URL. Okay, so once you're finished, once you've done defining the SQL query string, you just need to supply it in the MySQL query, which takes 2 parameters, that is the connection object and the SQL and the query string. Okay, so here if that particular data is successfully updated, it will show this message, data updated successfully, and if not, this will go to the else part and it will say the operation is failed. Okay, so now let's go to the working part. You can see over here there are 2 options, that is edit and the delete. The next one is the delete option, so let's go to the delete option. Okay, so you can see as soon as I clicked on the delete option, that particular data was deleted. Now let's check in the database whether this data was deleted successfully. Okay, so you can see over here the data is successfully deleted from the database, and you can see only one data, that is only one row, is displayed. Okay, so now let's go to the coding part of this. The same way, that is, in order to identify for which user's information should be deleted, I've passed the URL. I've passed the ID of the registered user in the URL, and so in order to fetch that ID, I've returned $_get ID, which is the value that I've passed in the URL, and I'm storing that in the variable ID, that is $ID. So next step is to again write the connection string first, and passing the 4 parameters, that is the host name, username, password, and the database name. The next step is to define the query string, that is delete from the table name, that is reg1, where ID equal to ID $ID. So next step is to pass this in the MySQL query, which takes again 2 parameters, the connection object and the query string. And if the deletion is made successfully, so it will show this message deleted successfully, and it will again redirect the page, and if not, it will go to the else part and show the message deletion failed. So this is how the database connection, along with inserting, viewing, deleting, and updating data in database in PHP is done. Thank you.